No, I got you. I got you. And we are live. I'm gonna get my share game on. Good afternoon, family. This is Brother Roberts that I got to do, one of my interviews I'll be doing with him. How you doing, Renee Jackson? Can you introduce yourself to the people and let them know who you are, Brother Roberts?
Wakanda. Brother Hubert Naeem Roberts Jr. I'm a Black Lives Matter Flint chairman. Been committed to this community over my lifetime, and I definitely believe in being committed, change and working together.
Okay, well, now see, they can't say that we just got conflict with everybody because I was certain things that's been going on, but I reached out to you because I wanted the people you one of the ones that's in the field that is working,
right. Doing the work,
Mm-hmm. So that's what we wanted to, I wanted the people to hear from a regular citizen because they was I don't want to just give my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
You one of the ones that's out on the front line. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to, to bring you on for you can kind of explain the dynamics that's going on in the city of Flint.
Okay, well, I can really dig into that deeply. And I think most of the time what we don't realize is the historical connotation to everything that's going on today. There's always been a cause and effect when we are engaged in any kind of understanding where we are in the presence. And the condition that Flint is in right now is always have been based from the original sin of this country that was taken from people that was already here. So even if you look at the city council, mayor's office, the county, if you look at any municipality, or if you look at the Constitution and the laws of this country, they have never been designed for those people that are on the bottom, number one. Number two, a lot of times with us, especially when you marginalize communities, find themselves engaged in bickering amongst one another over crumbs. Case in point, the demographic of this community right now, at one time, again, when you go back to the guy that founded it, so-called founded it from Native Americans, Jacob Smith, that was all, Native Americans was already here. And then the Industrial Revolution with Mott and Cadillac and Chrysler and DuPont and Durant and all them robber barons that came in. And basically they are capitalists. And if you understand capitalism is based on those at the top with capital exploiting those at the bottom with no power. That's what you have in Flint. And then you have different groups that have no power, no real power. They have an illusion of power. But just like this city hall agenda, what this is written upon, and even when you read the charter, most of the people that's working at the city council has not read the charter, number one. Most of them really don't have any understanding of political science, number two. Most of them are in a position that they shouldn't be in, along even with Mayor Neely. And again, I was at an event the other day where I turned my back on him because that's what happens in our community. When you're engaged in people out in your community and you disagree with them, because I'd be out protesting, meaning standing on the corner with my sign. I've been out there several years, totally against the anything to do with sports. And I'll go into that later. But out at this event out in Grand Blanc, Martin Luther King celebration, turn my back because another thing, if people are not engaged in the upliftment of us totally, we're not always going to agree with one another. But the rules, the regulation, and the roles someone has been laid out for us. And when you understand the game, then you know how to play the game. And the game is resources. Who get resources and who don't? The county get resources based on how they run their municipality. And you can see their roads, salts, and everything get done. You look at where we live in Flint. No snow removal, no salt, no kind of infrastructure that's being taken care of in the city of Flint because you have people that shouldn't be in those positions because they have no clue about working for the people. They are not engaged in what's best for our community, even if we don't disagree, guys. And this is something that we really don't pay attention to. There are other groups in this country, and many times they do not disagree. They do not agree on a lot of things. But when it comes to making sure that they are benefiting, they're on one accord. And sometimes they don't even speak to one another. But when it comes for them to have resources or their community to have resources, they're on one accord. We the only one that I'm mad at him, I'm mad at them, I'm mad at them because of their misdirection. And what happens a lot of times, even point out the mayor and the council members, they are elected officials. When you look at the percentage of people that voted in Flint, Michigan alone, is appalling. That's why we have poor leadership, because the citizens of this community are uneducated, unknowledgeable, and really don't care. And so when you have that kind of playing field, those in power can manipulate everything, because you only got a chosen few that understand how to play politics. When you talk about politics, politics is dividing of resources. Who get resources and who don't? Case in point, the numbers or the lottery. It was the numbers. Black people started the lottery, started the number business. Now it's the lottery. And it's amazing. The lottery in Michigan last year made $4.9 billion. How much of that do you believe actually come to the school system that they claim is supposed to be getting? And then if you see the school system in Flint and Genesee County, or just Flint, let me say Flint specifically. If you look at the revenue that comes to Flint, Michigan per the lottery from Michigan government is 29%. Of that 29%, guys, most of that goes to charter schools and Catholic schools, because you have no leadership with the Board of Education, and the superintendent of the Board of Education have no understanding about what they're really dealing with when you're talking about revenue and how you're supposed to make sure that your city is provided with those basic needs that's going to attract children and teachers to your municipality. Because a lot of time when they changed it back in the early 60s, where it was tax-based, at one time schooling was totally government-based, because again, when you think about the majority of this country was focused on taking care of the majority of this country and not the minority. And so the majority is going to always take care of themselves and undercut or marginalize the minority. So what we have is people that even graduated with master's degrees, doctorate degrees, associate degrees, a lot of different degrees and different letters behind their names, but really don't understand the minutia of government. And if you get down to the raw essence of government, it is about money. Who get allocated and who don't. I use the example of the county. The county get things done because they have those people in place. They're making sure that their community is taken care of because they come out and vote. They come out and vote. They have meetings in their homes. They have meetings in their garages. They have meetings in their fields. Out in Clio, my ex-wife and I was violated out in Clio. My truck was vandalized with swastikas and all that. Went to the NAACP, went to the FBI. Didn't get no help from nobody. You know what I mean? All that damage was done to my truck. And I was driving around my truck with all that stuff on, and state police stopped me talking about, sir, you can't do this. I say, are you arresting me? Is there the issue? If not, get away from my truck. They wanted me to follow them out to the state police post. But again, if you're not willing to understand and stand up for what you believe in, that's why we're in the condition that we're in right now in Flint, Michigan with the leadership. All the leadership should be excommunicated, or in my opinion, should be removed from office, because they are not working for the betterment of our community. Now, when you wrap all that up into how can we develop some solutions, let me just share some things with the listeners' audience to make it clear. We at Black Lives Matter Flint have been engaged in the Juneteenth celebration, the holiday drive. We have a program called Day at the Lake, where we engage in our children in a fishing experience in the summertime. Also, we engage in greeting our students at the local schools, where we greet the students to really help to encourage and motivate them. A lot of times people complain about what you are not doing. If anybody asks you or want to talk about what you are doing or not doing, ask them, what are you doing? Because we all can do something. I mean, if you think about it, if we had a block to block concept where each block in our community had a house that was providing reading, writing, and math after school every day, guys, that's how we change our system. That's how we change our community. If we can buy back into supporting one another, meaning stop supporting these other ethnic groups that have no intentions of supporting us. Because if you look at in 1960, after the 1965 Voting Rights Act, they intentionally started bringing in other immigrants into America to make sure that they will be those people that will have the hotels, the motels, the liquor stores, and the gas stations. They did that intentionally. So another group in this country couldn't be allowed to get the finances or have the basic finances to go on that level of business, which build legacy. They started doing that in 1965. And so a lot of times we sit around complaining while others are taking care of their business. So when my brother Mick asked, as far as what's going on in our community and why are we in the dire strait that we in right now, it all started from something. It all began with an initial act. Then the first act, so we can be clear about what is that behavior. So the behavior in Flint, Michigan alone, at one time, Flint had 35 factories, more than any other state in the country. Flint, Michigan had 35 factories that were related to the automotive industry, more than Detroit or however y'all want to look at it. So with that kind of money that was coming through Flint, at one time here, it was a model community. And even when if you want to call about equity, you know, when they even passed the 68 housing law, the housing law started here, was implemented in Flint, Michigan, because you had a situation where those that had and those that had not were somewhat communicating with one another on some kind of playing field to try to level up. Because it's about leveling up. So if you have one group of people that will never level up with you, meaning there's groups of people in America that will never share any resources. In 1920, there was an opportunity for us to have health care for everybody in America. No. Not going to happen. We're not going to let these people, these other people, have universal health care. We're not going to do it because we don't classify them as valuable or people that needs to be treated fairly. It's about equity. So my position, and Mick knows this, as much as he's dealt with me to some degree, I believe the only power that people really have that are in dealing with the lack of resources, the only power that some of us really have in this country, meaning those that don't have, is our dollars and our bodies, our money and our bodies. And what does that look like, Brother Naeem? It looks like this. Let's look at Genesee or Flint. If we pulled out and stopped spending our dollars in Flint, meaning getting the basic minimum from any of those stores, not shopping at no beer and wine store at all, no gas station, only get the gas that you need, but not spending a dime for any other product at a gas station or at Mr. B's or Landmark, not supported them at all. or Graceland or Greenland or whatever that is out in Beecher, not supporting Great Giant, not supporting them at all, number one. Number two, how we really work to educate one another, meaning we need to fold within ourselves and start building our own legacy, our own community, making sure we're protecting our own community, not allowing other people to come in our community and kill one another, and not allowing each other. If I got a beef with Mick or someone that looks like me, we need to be able to squash it amongst ourselves and not be policed by a community that from day one has never, ever respect our bodies or our persons. So let's be clear what I'm saying. So often people push back on me because of my language. And I'm trying to be politically correct because I'm hoping Mick will allow me to come back and maybe some of our community might be interested in having a little more dialogue where we can really get down into some minutia about solutions. Because so many times we talk about, oh, clickbait, this happened or that happened. But we don't want to get down into how we can come up with some real solutions. And some of the basic solutions are old. They've been around for thousands and thousands of years, guys. When you love yourself, when you love your neighbor, when I'm not afraid of you, when I'm caring about you, when I want to share my resources, those things are basics to humanity. Do y'all know how long human beings been on planet Earth? 600 million years the human species have been on the planet Earth. Now, relatively to who we are today, it's been 300,000 years in our form that we're in today. And even when 300,000 years, if you look at what's going on, which is so sad, 300,000 years, we have been what you call Homo erectus. And in that time, you look at civilizations have rose and fail, rose and fail, rose and fail. And in many civilizations, they have had their own understanding of their creator with the universe, their understanding to the universe, and how they dealt with one another. And most often, if that's why we're in the situation we're in today, I have to go back to this because we have no knowledge of history. When you have no knowledge of history and you have been denied history, and right now they are canceling books and canceling this class and canceling that. And just the other day, a professor in Lincoln University committed suicide for being bullied by another person in her administration, bullied this sister, and she committed suicide at a historically Black college. And the president of the college was of another hue that she was having problems with. And the board of directors, she presented her case to them, and they didn't address it, and she committed suicide Friday. Why is that important, Brother Roberts? Well, when you think about reciprocity and how everything is in a circle, as I said before, when you think about the rise and fall of societies, or you think about the Olmecs and the Aztecs or the Incas, and those people in South America or Mesoamerica, if some of you guys are aware of this, they had their distinct culture. They literally had their own count, started the calendar, guys. And even when you go back to ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet, so let us be clear, because even when a lot of us don't realize world history, because if you look at ancient Kemet, which is in northern, on the continent of the so-called continent named by somebody else that's not the right name of it, but for the sake of this conversation, Africa, which is not his name, but somebody gave his name, just like somebody gave us our name, just like my name, Hubert Roberts, was given to me from someone that owned my ancestors. So my own name, I named, someone else blessed me with the name Naeem. So when you have the power to name things, to own things, to possess things, you have the power to dictate what they do. So I circle around with, there are people that have the power to dictate what happens to us in Flint, Michigan. Barack Obama fly in, drink some water at Northwestern. Unacceptable. And we allowed that to happen. Why is the problem? Because when we don't know our history, when we don't know our power, then we succumb to thinking that we're weak. And we are not weak. We have never been weak in the history of mankind. All human beings started in Africa. One, they have tried to disprove it. They have did everything they can to just lie. All of evidence started in Africa. Everyone started with a black mother and father. I know it's hard for you guys to accept it. I know a lot of you black people want to be white. I get it. You light-skinned black people, I know y'all want to be white. So, I just want to throw that out there. Some people push back on me using those terms. So I apologize if I offend any fragility, any people with severe fragility. I know it's hard for you to accept the truth. I know that you're in love with Trump. I know that's your Messiah, so I mean no, disrespect. And I know it's all about, your position is basically not sharing no resources with anyone that doesn't look like you. So I respect that. But back to what our focus, what Mick asked me about, why are we in the condition that we're in today? This condition we're in today is not by accident. When you look at even the old leadership from back in the day, however you want to go back to Rutherford and McCree and a lot of those city council, Etherly and Fred Tucker, and just tremendous amount of profound talent that was in this city. And one of the things that minimized a lot of the friction was the amount of money that was here. Because before there was Grand Blanc, Flushing, Davidson, Lapeer, and all those satellite communities, everybody was in Flint. Before there was Grosse Pointe, Bloomfield, and all those other things in Detroit, it was Detroit. So that was the mothership. So what happens a lot of times, because we don't know our history and we repeat it, is people that choose to say that I don't want to live, or I don't want to be around, or I'm not gonna play with you. So I'm gonna go to Davidson, Fenton, or Flushing, or Ortisville to make sure that my community is represented a demographic one way and one way only, right? And the problem with that is this planet is diverse. The diversity of planet Earth is so profound that it is so magnificent. It is so amazing, guys. How could we have a planet with the same trees, the same plants, the same fish, the same flowers, y'all, the same grass? That is not in the annals of our universe. You must have diversity. And for anybody to say that diversity doesn't matter, they are terrorists and they are against humanity. And I bring that point up because we have been terrorized in Flint, Michigan from day one, in my opinion, because Native Americans were here first. And then this Smith guy come in. He was a different kind of guy. And along with him came other settlers that pushed out the Native American people and said that they had no rights to their own land. So let's say they've been here for thousands of years. Other people come to this country in 1619 or 1492, whatever you want to go. The lie, Columbus did not discover America. That's a lie, But like the Confederacy, y'all want to believe in your Confederate heritage. And so when you think about somebody already being here and you taking their land from them, you're going to have a beef. The same thing that's going on right now in Palestine. If you think about it, my history is correct. 1917, the Balfour Doctrine. The British colony colonized 171. Britain, the country of Britain, colonized 171 countries. They had the nerve to take a part of the African culture, which is Palestine, in 1917 to broach a deal, the Balfour Doctrine, to build to take land for European Jews to settle. They took it. Do y'all know how large Israel is? Anybody out there, since you guys, want to talk about Cat Williams and all this other mess? Britain, think about it, colonized 171 countries around the world, meaning subjugated through brutality, through terrorism, 171 other people, and most of those people were of another hue. Let me just make that point. Why am I bringing that up? I know you guys maybe don't want to digest it, but Israel is the size of New Jersey. 9.1 million people in Israel. Gaza is the size of Washington, D.C. twice. Any of you guys know the size of Washington, D.C.? How minute that is? And they got 4 million people. So today is 102 days since October the 7th that conflict started, or that genocide started. There's been over 10,000 children killed and over 100,000 people that are either missing, wounded, or killed. And the other day, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, Africa came out against Israel and petitioned the INJ, saying that Israel is engaged in genocidal behavior, just like Hitler was. Israel pushed back and saying they got a right to kill, steal, and destroy indiscriminately, no matter what anybody else say in the world. And Israel is the size of New Jersey. All their revenue comes from one country, the United States. Genesee County, if you think about Genesee County as a state and where the revenue comes from. So what Governor Snyder was able to do, because Whitmer haven't engaged in it at all, but so Governor Snyder was able to send in his henchmen along with destroying the water, but there was no recompense. And what did we do? We laid down for it. We did not stop paying our water bills, our taxes. We did not stop driving, going to school, going to work. We did not shut this city down, because that's what has to happen. Because power only respects power. Unless you are willing to put your life on the line to be treated fairly in this country, all you guys want to do is clickbait. Just like what happened the other day. I think it's called RPMs, revenue per million. Something. Okay, so the way they got it set up for a podcast, the way you make money on that is, you have 45 to 55, so the content, and then the provider, so the content person get 55%, and the person that got to own the whole complex get 45%. But even of that, so that's $10 or $12 if you put it in money terms. So just the other day with that Cat Williams situation on Shay Shay, he earned, Shannon Sharpe on his podcast earned over $747,000 for the video and the clips, because he had 36 clips. Clips are like a minute and 15 seconds or something like that. So again, when you think about, I'm just bringing that up about podcasts and podcast provider, content providers, as far as how that money is breaking up and how it's shared, or for how it's viewed, because the more views you get, and they get it, RPMs is based on revenue per million, which is revenue per thousand. So every 1,000 views you get, there's a percentage of the content provider gets. So most of us don't realize that. So even in that, so Shannon Sharpe made that kind of money on Cat Williams. Did that interview allow for us to achieve any of our goals in our prospective communities, meaning building wealth, building either schools, jobs, resources, or power base? Because it's just entertainment. So again, we running around here entertaining someone else, like in the Roman Colosseums. So let me run these numbers down to you so y'all can get this picture. So and again, these are nonprofit businesses. The NCAA per year, how much you guys think the revenue is for the NCAA per year? $5.6 billion is what the NCAA football teams make per year. Most of those coaches in the NCAA does not look like me and you, and most of the players look like me. Most of the coaches and staff looks like someone else. Most of the players that are killing themselves and maiming their bodies look like me. That's why for 7 years, I have not supported, watched, or engaged in no form of sports. Because we are being castrated. It is a shame, our behavior and what we are doing to our bodies and our minds when people in power, they care nothing about us. The NFL, a year. What does the NFL make a year?
Billion, ain't it?
$168 billion a year.
168 billion?
$168 billion a year. And many teams, they have revenue sharing, guys. It's nonprofit. Now, this is nonprofit. They don't have to pay taxes. Municipalities have to pay taxes. But the NFL, as a body, 32 teams don't have to pay taxes. Nonprofit. They are a 501c5 and a C5 and a C4. Cost of tickets for a family of four to go to an NFL game is $646.88. Now you think about that, guys. One football game for 4 hours. How much money do you think that produced? And I mean, parking, flying, hotel, food, liquor, tailgating, stadium tickets, and their profit sharing with the networks. One game, if we got revenue, if Flint received revenue off of one game that will directly go into feeding a lot of what Mick is doing and other people are doing, and a lot of people on the front line that are doing in the community, like the work that we're doing in and out of the schools and really trying to impact our community, because a lot of times we don't get the resources because we don't look like the people that has the power. When you don't look like the people that have the power, they can continue to monitor to put you in a box where you got to fight amongst each other over crumbs. And then we have attitudes with one another, but don't realize the big picture, guys. That's why history and studying is so important. Earlier, it goes back to why we're in the condition that we're in today, guys. It goes back to resources and the lack of knowledge about resources and how those are divided up is our problem. Flint could be in, we could be in a total different situation, guys, had we did some things back in the early 60s and early 70s. Had we not sold out, had we not allowed General Motors to leave, had we not allowed our community schools to be gutted, had we not allowed our tax base to be gutted. And again, how we did not allow ourselves to vote, to be empowered, to make sure redistricting, gerrymandering, or how these pools of money are divided. If we would have stood 10 toes down and demanded, we are not going to pay our taxes, we are not going to do some things, we are going to go without. Because when you go without as a group, you got some power, man. Even when they put in 475, they wanted to put 475 in over there by Lewis Street. At the time, before white flight, those residents over on the east side said no. Those residents over there on St. John area didn't have no voice, and they bulldozed that whole community like they did across the country. That was an intentionally move that they did across this country.
But that's the question I want to ask.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. That's the question. I'm saying, like, how you mentioned, because it happened in '68, right?
Yes, sir.
When they did the white flight, how you got Graham Blank, Davidson, Burton, and Flushing, all these.
Otisville.
Yeah, Otisville got all these all these popped up. But it's people that look like me and you that be in these seats and, you know, on these boards, and they voting for these things that's going on. Like, how do we change that? Because that's why because it's people like me and you. Forgive you an instant. Quincy was on the charter. He was on the thing for the charter.
Right.
He was part of the revisionists of the charter. How could you make this? How could you be writing the stuff that's going on the charter, but then y'all not following it? But then they mess it up so much, they don't even know. Like, how do we deal with stuff like that?
Well, there's two ways, and the simplest way I can tell you is revenue based. I really go back, Nick, to the power is in money. And so when you mention about Quincy or anyone that's in any seat, governing seat, I don't care if they're on a board or this board or executive of Rocket Mortgage, the insurance company, Dan Gilbert. I don't care who they are.
Right.
It all goes down to who are manipulating the strings behind the scenes.
Right.
So most Flint plantation owners mind. So let's just be honest.
Okay.
So I know, excuse me. Okay, so when you think about Flint and how it's set up, the power brokers in Flint here, the DDA, the Community Foundation, now with this Community First, and you know, they have their power base, and they make sure that they groom those people that are going to vote, that are going to move their agenda. And so when you have people that look like me and you that are not willing to stand for the people for equity. See, there's a difference between equity and then downright capitalism. Because capitalism doesn't share. Equity say from capital, I want to share, making sure everybody level up, right?
Right.
So to answer your question is, how do we stop this is twofold. We got to get people in those positions that can be honest about their commitment to the community, number one. And a lot of times you have to fight against those people that have a bigger stick, but their stick is not that big because it's all revenue based, meaning if people stop paying their taxes, Mick, paying their water bill, paying their electric bill, I mean, if they shut this city down, there will be a reckoning. That's what has to take. I know that's hard for people to get. I know that may be hard for you to understand. I know it may sound foreign to you, but it all based on revenue based. If you do not shut the machine down, the machine will eat you up. How many of us are willing to shut everything down individually? You're not effective. But collectively, that's what it takes. So to answer your question, do you think the election, Donald Trump being elected again, do you think that's going to produce a different Quincy Murphy or a Liddell Lewis? What do you think is going to happen when Donald Trump is elected again?
Personally, no, because I mean, you gotta understand, America is really a corporation.
It's a business.
So even the presidents get told what they can and can't do because a lot of them be having to go get money.
Thank you.
From different special interests.
Thank you.
And it's like when what we dealing with here. Give you an example, like the charter says you can't take money from businesses.
Exactly.
But yet we have two that we know of that took money from Ashley Capital, who they then went and voted on to get $72 million. And not just that, let's go back and I want to say this, I don't want Ed Taylor to think I'm just throwing a shot at him.
Yeah.
when we was at council, when he came down there and he showed his ass.
Yeah.
Look what the Ethics and Accountability Board, nothing happened. It's
Nothing.
like, and you got Joe King, which he's one of the elders.
Right.
He might be, I'll say this, he a good person.
Right.
I don't know him personally, but he might be a good person. But it's like a lot of their politics is that of a dictatorship now.
Exactly.
You know, and I get it from past administration to new administration.
Yes,
because we know in the end, they still got to talk to some higher ups. Even, I don't care who the mayor is.
At all.
At the end of the day, it's the powers with the special interests who got the money, i.e. Mott.
Yeah. They're
going to have to go ahead and do what they say. Because let's just go back. For example, they know our schools are gutted. You happen to be in the school.
Yes, sir.
There's no way that you can tell me from the superintendent to the who now the president of the school board, this probably her second time getting it. They cannot tell me they're doing a good job with the school system in Flint.
Right.
And it seemed like ain't nobody saying that. You know, I mean, over here, we take our shots at whoever, to be honest with you. We take them at them all. But go ahead.
You know, but let's be clear. So your audience and you can be clear. It's not an accident that there is no accountability when you mention about Ashley Capital and what was able to happen with those members of the council getting funded from them. That's not no accident, and there was no checks and balance. It's not an accident, right? Because the checks and balance, in my opinion, had to come from the residents of the city.
Right.
That's where the checks and balances come out.
Right.
Anytime those council members are anywhere in the public, nobody should be engaging with them, talking to them or nothing like that, right?
Right.
Because they should be recalled and they should be charged, number one. Number two, you are right about special interests. And again, when you have the power and then you playing the power game, so you can sprinkle the little crumbs around here and let these little people fight over crumbs because they're trying to get the power. People at the bottom want to get to the top.
Right.
People at the bottom, by any means necessary, want to get to the top.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we're dealing with. Because if you think about it, why has that been set up? The miscalculation was in 1492, or when you say you had a group of people that were minding their own business in another part of the world, and you go and enslave them, the worst enslavement in the history of mankind, and then you create a term called race. Race is a construct. Race is not real. That's a construct. That's a man-made construct. Racism is power-based. Now, you can have prejudice, bigotry, separation, supremacy, and all that kind of stuff. But when you talk about racism, racism is based on power. Race is a construct. This black, white, all that. Most people have never identified themselves as black or white. That is a new term, y'all. That's why history is so important, and that's why they got an attack on history. That's why they're trying to defund and destroy history, because history is clear. Most people identify from their ethnic origin, from their country of origin, and even on the continent of so-called Africa. Most of those people didn't identify themselves as black. They identified themselves Sudani, or Congolese, or Kenyan. You know what I mean? When it had to do with no color, nothing, because they came in all kind of colors. So it wasn't none of that. That's a man-made construct, which is what has brainwashed us and destroying us, man. So back to your initial question. What to do? Those people, in my opinion, that receive those dollars, or along with Mayor Neely, is like Barack Obama. Barack Obama was hired to handle white affairs. When you think about American Enterprise, the Heritage Foundation, Carnegie Foundation, the Federalist Society. See, I'm throwing those names out there. Most of your audience probably have a clue. But those are the people that are running this country, along with the billionaires. But those are the people that are writing policies across this country that are all conservative. And we continue to sit around and die eating garbage to watch football and basketball while they cut off our balls. Not one of when you think about collectively, why haven't football players collectively came together and stopped playing this season or this playoff or whatever garbage? Do you know if those Negroes, excuse me, I'm sorry, if a certain group of people that's playing sports would not play this round of games, do you know laws and policies would change overnight? Because the only God this country really has is money. This country is based on, is a corporation, is a business, like Mick said. And if you cut or tamper with their money, the NFL is $168 billion a year business. It gives the players peanuts. Many of the players right now are working on 2 and 3 year contracts, which is not, they getting the lowest salary for an NFL player is $900,000. And many of them are on that level right now. Only a few get the max contract, and most of them are another, they are another hue of people. And so again, when you keep saying about what has to be done, it has to be collectively done with power from the people. And it's something that we need to start doing ourselves. Yes. Malcolm was right. Malcolm said, if we leave our religion in the closet, we can get some things done. Religion has totally destroyed us in this country and on the planet Earth. Even when you think about being anti-Semitic, what in the world is that? What is anti-Semitic? Even if you look at the history of the Bible, how old is, anybody know how old the Bible is? 2,700 years old, right? The so-called Bible. But then you go back to the ancient, if you go to the Meta Nature, right? Because the Bible is derived from previous texts that was laid down by the Kemetic people, right? So again, that's why history is so important, because they've been telling lies all along, guys. And so that's how you can have a Quincy Mercer and a Liddell Lewis and all these other people, because they are mimicking a behavior to be next to, as I just said, power. So when you're in a power and a lack of power base, so I will sell my soul to the devil so I can be either associated with power or connected to power, or at least power look at me and say, you're doing a good job and pat me on the head, or I can live next to power. I want to live next to power. I want to marry power like Serena Williams did. I used to be in love with her. Unacceptable. But she married an interesting person. So again, when you hate yourself, when you look at the mirror and you hate who you are, this is what we're dealing with today, Mick. When you look at the world, the planet Earth, people of color are in the majority. Planet Earth, people of color are in the minority. People that does not look like us are in the minority. But those people that does not look like us have all of the have butchered, killed, stealed, and destroyed numerous cultures to exploit, to deny, to destroy, to kill, to manipulate for resources. Right now, there's a mineral that comes out of the Congo. I always say this, man, when I speak. It doesn't come out of no other country but the Congo. It is called tritium. In its rawest form is coltan. It is used in every electronic device on the planet. If the Congolese had power of their own minerals coming out the ground, they could shut down the world. That one country on the continent of Africa, 54 countries in the island of Madagascar could shut down the world if they own their own resources and was able to generate the money they need from that resources, what it does to run every electronic device on this planet. I don't care what country you're in. I don't care if you're in space. I don't care if you're bottom of the sea. Every electronic device has to have this mineral in it for it to run. And we, our people in Congo, have no rights over that material. So when you look at what's going on, back to your initial question as far as what you said about these other individuals that you named and why these things are happening. Much that's taking place in our community is number one, the lack of knowledge, the lack of information, and the lack of history. Number two, the unwillingness to collectively, even if we don't agree, even sometime that our African ancestors had to deal with some of our members of our families that went crazy. We had to ostracize them for a minute, and then they had a trial to come back. You know, you give Clarence Thomas and Ben Carson, you know, if they, you know, room to come back, but if they choose not to come back, then they go on and do their own thing. And that's how you have to do in some family members. If they don't want to be a part of the collective, then they have to be separated from the collective because they're cancer. And you have to be all right with that. It's not that we have to hate them. We can still love them from afar. But if they're not committed to the wellness and the equity of people that looks like me and you, that's wanting to be treated fairly and humanely, and they look like me and you, and they are fighting against you, and they're building policies against you. And if you look at the streets were plowed in the county, but not in the city. They put salt down in the county, but not in the city. Our streets right now in the city are unacceptable to drive on. And we keep paying taxes to a municipality that has no respect for us, has no love for us. Black Lives Matter has tried to repaint the mural downtown on MLK and was denied by the mayor. Oh no, can't do that. Was there a collective where the concerned pastors or other groups of Black NAACP, and it's so sad, man. NAACP, the NAACP, for it to be since 1919 a historical base of agitation or really working to be helping people to be treated fairly, for them not to be present during the water crisis, for them not to be present daily in our school system, for them not to be on the forefront of the needs of our community, for them just to annually do a year, every year they do this scholarship fundraiser, but not on the front line of activism. What does it mean to activism? You are acting in a way that's challenging power, because power is not going to share its power unless it's made to share the power. Power in itself is one-sided. Power doesn't even see you. It all power says is you fuel me. So you got to look at it like an engine. You can put gasoline in the engine. So the engine is going to run as long as it got the gasoline. If you run out of gasoline, which is the people, even in this country, if you look at the prison system, there are more people locked up today than was enslaved in 1861, y'all. There are more people locked up in prison than 1861. That's atrocious, man. And then when you look at the law enforcement or the justice system, the justice system has an annual budget of $300 billion, guys. That's $300 billion for prisons, jail, probation, parole, halfway houses. And down in the southern states, they don't play. They got work farms, meaning they'll give you a trumped up charge to incarcerate you to make sure that you are washing the sheriff cars, and they have a real penal system going down in the South, and that's not even being addressed. Biden and nobody is addressing that. And what's going on at the border the other day, last Friday, in the Rio Grande, the Border Patrol team of cowards was on the bank, watch over 35 people drown, men, women, and children. and was laughing. Y'all tell me about what we are up against in this country. And I do believe that there's going to have to be a reckoning because all great societies imploded from within. If you look at Babylon and Greece and Rome, the Carthaginians, and that's why the Vikings, and that's why many of my listening on this, if I could say anything to encourage you guys, is I think it's so important for us to really, really research information and history, because when you have a clear understanding of history, you have a better understanding of today and what you really can do tomorrow. Most of us are dealing with microwave, right? We want it now. We just want our fix now. We want our McDonald's now, or our White Castle now, or our what's that new place they put out? A chicken place.
Chick-fil-A.
Insane, guys. We want that as opposed to building our community, which takes all of us. And I'm hoping that as we look at some things right now in Africa, there's 15 wars going on the continent of Africa. 15 wars right now. All of them are being funded by the United States. Another thing, guys, if we look at, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with 1866 by any chance. In America in 1866, that's when the first Quakers petitioned the government to eliminate the act of enslavement. And then you look at 1492, 1619, 1776, and 1865. Let's look at 1865, guys. 1865, they had the Devil Punch Massacre in Mississippi. And I want you guys to look this up. Natchez, Mississippi in 1865, over 20,000 men, women, and children were starved to death intentionally. They look like me. Intentionally in 1865. It's called the Devil Punch Bowl. Then in 1873, the Colfax Massacre in Louisiana. Colfax Massacre was over 400 men and women and children that were murdered because the town, which was basically mixed, the government was mixed. The KKK decided to say, oh no, we're going to kill all elected officials and their families and their children. That's what they did. Nobody was found guilty. Nobody suffered any pushback. Nobody went to jail. It was just a savage act. What is constantly taking place in America across the country when you think about law enforcement. Law enforcement today is allowed to kill a person and have immunity. And even what's going on in Israel, right now they got gangs of citizens going around killing Palestinians. The same thing in America. You have gangs of people that are allowed. George Zimmerman, along with that other boy that killed them people with the AR-15, what went up in the church. These group of people are allowed to kill with no kind of consequences. Law enforcement in America was started to protect white property, and we have always been viewed as property in this country. And so when you think about, and I want to tie this all back into what Mick initially said is, what can we do?
And what's the antidote?
And the answer again, once you have the information, then how do you move with the information? One thing, you have to get over fear. Fear of dying, right? Because we are going to die. But shouldn't it be a process of we should all be able to live with some kind of equity and dignity? And so what we should be doing to the Neelys and all these other people is having some real hard conversations with our community and those that don't support it, making sure that they are ostracized. But we need to really encourage the voters in Flint, Michigan to take a hard line on getting engaged. Every one of us should be involved in our voting process, the city council,
School.
county, the school, every area of resources in our city, guys. We should be on the forefront, having little meetings, bigger meetings. Nobody should be in this community getting a 50-year tax break. There's no way in the world we shouldn't have our own dump trucks, our garbage trucks, our own plows. None of that should be outsourced. There's no way in the world when you think the city is 80% black, guys. It's 80% black. And out of the 80% being black, guys, we have no power. Because the mayor's office and the city council are not beholden to the residents. They're not. There's receipts. So when you got receipts, what do you do with receipts when you walk out? When you walk out of Walmart, don't have no receipts, what they do to you? Or you just go in there and pick something up? Because that's what's happening to us, guys. You got people coming to our city and just pick stuff up, and they can just leave with no kind of drama. They can just come and molest us, and nothing happened to us. Neely molest us on a daily basis. Swanson molest us on a daily basis. The court system molest us on a daily basis, and we do nothing. We are being sodomized every day. Every day, we're being sodomized. Every day in this community, and we do nothing collectively. Oh, I can't do nothing. Oh, I want to go to work and come on. I want my weed and my liquor. I want to watch my porn and play my lottery. And again, it's so sad, guys, when you do an analysis of the lottery and you break it down, because again, the numbers were started by black people. And now it's the lottery. And y'all think about the kind of money it's generated. Last year in 2023, it generated $4.9 billion. And then when you look about where it break the money down to see where it really went, because there's some shadow stuff going on. And that's why the municipalities, those people that are in power, are able to you see a fleet of new sheriff department cars down there. And they got the best, the Tahoes. Those are $100,000 a piece. That money comes from somewhere, y'all. So don't get it twisted. We ain't built a new school in Flint since the 80s. And so back to scratch-offs. Scratch-offs are one of the biggest revenue generators in Michigan lottery history, the $50 and $30 scratch-off. And most of those tickets, winners are found in white neighborhoods. I got the receipts on that. Most of the winning scratch-offs are won in areas that are predominantly communities that don't look like me and yours. How can that happen if it's supposed to be equity, if it's supposed to be blind, if it's supposed to be no manipulation, guys? How does that happen when our community continues to be destroyed, don't have no money, $4.9 billion, and we don't get a dime? And Flint is in a deficit? And now they want to take the money and move it to the general fund, and we supposed to be all right with that? And then there's no accountability of the $90 million. $90 million ain't no money. That ain't no money, y'all.
That's a drop in the bucket.
$90 million ain't nothing compared to the damage, the long-term damage that has been caused by Governor Snyder's and this administration, along with Rutherford, goes back to Sharp, goes back to Stanley. This is nothing. Go back to Woodrow, whatever that boy name was, the white guy, Wilson. This whole Flint has been a monopoly from day one, because the inception of Flint, Michigan has been a money maker from day one. And they have been able to parlay and play Flint and gut the resources and still be able to take their money and hide and say it's the citizens' fault. It is our fault that these people, these robber barons, and came into our city and raped us. And this is our fault, and they blame us. Powers that be blame the victim. Ain't that something? Your rapist can blame you for being raped. Because that's where we are today, guys. And so back to, before I close out, Mick say, what are we going to do? And I'm hoping that some of the response you guys may want me to come back or may not, some of the language I use. I'm not playing no more. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I do believe that how do you get away with busing migrants from Texas to New York and to Chicago and it's not human trafficking? How did that happen, y'all? DeSantis destroying all form of any kind of equity or DEI or acknowledging that Black people ever existed in America and it's okay. And we continue to play sports and we continue to watch the Super Bowl and think that and wear gold chains and drive a car and think we done arose, that we doing something. We are our own problem. If you want a real reflection, Michael Jackson was clear about the man in the mirror. We need to take a hard look at ourselves and our value. We don't value one another. We value things and not human beings. We come from a culture that valued human beings, guys. That's where we come from. But for 500 years, we've been brainwashed by our only teacher, have told us that it's all about individualism and it's about greed. Greed is good. You don't have to respect your mother, father, or your children. All you need to do is have on gold chains, have a car, have a new Brazilian, a BBL, eyelashes out to here, pants hanging down, hair everywhere. That's our image. That's insane. And then you wonder why our children are insane. So if the parents and the grandparents are insane, what do you think the children gonna be? If the parents don't have a clue, the grandparents don't have a clue, how are the babies gonna have a clue? If you don't work to understand history, along with understanding being educated, because educating is just not going to school and participating in a ritual. You got to have a broader education, guys. If you got a PhD or a doctor's degree and you still are a white supremacist, man, and you're going to make sure that that position that you have, along with making sure that these other people can continue to be marginalized, that is your life work. Just like with Himmler, with Hitler's man, or Goebbels. They was sadists. They was clear about killing and destroying man, woman, and child. When you kill a child in any kind of conflict, and we're in a conflict, Bob Marley wrote a song about it. Kill the seed before it grows. So when you kill a child before it grows, that is our legacy. That is our power. Our only power, guys, is in the power that we have collectively, our bodies, and our money and time. That's the only power that we have. And I'm hoping that you guys will help in strengthening a push to end and call out the Negroes that participate in the NCAA. They need to stop that. The NFL, the NBA, the Olympics, all sports activities, we need to buy out of them for at least 5 years. We need to have a reconciliation amongst ourselves for about a 5-year period. We need to have a total mental awareness for about 5 years in America. Just ourselves. We need to have an enema. We need a real enema in America. Nick, anything else?
Oh no, that's it. That's it. You did majority.
Well, before we close out, I definitely would like to encourage you guys. Black Lives Matter is looking for people to come join our group. Again, we want to work with everybody. We're doing some wonderful things. We can't do it alone. Again, one thing that I'm trying to do this year is be more conducive to bridging gaps and bridging people together. Now, I am clear about the need. I do understand that the power to be are running things and have the power. How do we access power from those that have power? Even if we're saying we got a black agenda. And again, we have to develop allies. So some of my brothers and sisters of a different culture, I'm hoping that I didn't offend you and that you may be considering coming on board and being a part of the real work that needs to be done. I'm asking those members in our communities that have a heart for anything, that want to move our community forward, please come join Black Lives Matter Flint. It's a nonprofit organization. We cannot do any good work in the community unless the community is going to be a part of it. So we definitely hoping that some of you guys may be interested. My number is 810-394-4105. My email is mentorroberts@gmail.com. And again, I like to do a disclaimer. Anything I said was not Mick, didn't have anything to do with it. And again, everything is on my shoulders. I speak for my truth. I stand on my truth. I can be corrected, but a lot of things that I say, I do vet it and I make sure that I'm historically founded in the material that I bring to our community. So looking forward to hearing from some feedback and hearing from you guys. Hoping you guys may like me to come on and further to engage our community for solutions. I don't want to keep beating up the council or the mayor or our community. Let's find common ground where we can move Flint to another level of collective work and humanity and goodness, guys. Let's love one another. And before I go, if you have a beef with your family members or a loved one or a friend, try to forgive them and hug them. If you see somebody today, guys, even if it's cold, speak to them. Don't look down. Don't look away. Don't be scared. Hug somebody today. Give them a kiss.
Hold on one second. Peace, family. Hold on, let me end this.